Chinese stuff in jewelry or vaults, think of it as, well, as a medicine,
Yeah.
a therapeutic substance. It
Right.
sounds surprising, right?
Yeah.
But that's exactly how it's presented in a specific historical medical context, and it might just change how you see gold entirely. Today, we're doing a deep dive into Aurum Metallicum, that's metallic gold, and our source is William Boericke's classic homeopathic Materia Medica. Now, Materia Medica, it's basically a detailed guide in homeopathy. It lists all the symptoms and characteristics linked to a substance. It's a really specific way of looking at health, very observational. So our mission today is to explore the fascinating, sometimes pretty startling effects attributed to gold in this text. You're basically getting a shortcut to understanding this complex historical view of gold's therapeutic side, a side you probably never knew existed.
And what's really interesting, is that this isn't even presented as a brand new idea within that context. The source actually says gold was considered an anti-venereal, so used against syphilis-like issues, and anti-scrofulous, tackling glandular tuberculosis or scrofula. This was apparently known way back, but its use had been well nigh forgotten by the old school, meaning conventional medicine of that era.
Right, so homeopathy supposedly rediscovered it
Yeah.
and put it on a scientific basis. That's a pretty bold statement for an old remedy. And the text connects gold's effects on the blood, glands, and bone to things like mercurial and syphilitic infections. Does that mean that fights them directly, or is it more about the symptoms looking similar?
That's a good question. It's definitely more about the symptom resemblance. Homeopathy works on that principle, like cures like. So gold was seen as potent for deep conditions whose symptoms look like syphilis, or maybe the effects of mercury treatment or scrofula. Boericke specifically highlights its use for really difficult cases, like when syphilis is implanted on the scrophulous constitution. He calls this combination one of the most intractable morbid conditions.
Intractable.
Yeah.
Meaning really stubborn, hard to treat.
Exactly. And gold seemed especially suited to the vile combination, as he puts it. It really positions gold as almost a remedy for the deepest, most persistent kinds of suffering, maybe even a last resort.
Okay, here's where it gets, really intense. The mental picture.
Yeah.
This source attributes some incredibly profound psychological states to Aurum Metallicum. We're talking about great desire to commit suicide, a complete disgust of life. It says the person talks of committing suicide, actively looks for ways, every opportunity is sought for self-destruction.
Wow, that's specific and very heavy. It truly is. It paints gold as being linked to the most severe forms of emotional pain, almost like a remedy for a soul in absolute torment. And it goes deeper. There's a feeling of self-condemnation and utter worthlessness, profound despondency, great fear of death. Also this pervasive ennui, just listlessness, dissatisfaction, feeling low-spirited, lifeless, even having a weak memory. It's a picture of extreme internal distress, almost existential.
And this inner turmoil, it doesn't just stay inside, does it? It seems to spill out. The text mentions oversensitiveness to noise, excitement, confusion.
Yes, exactly. And behaviorally, things like being peevish and vehement, at least contradiction.
Yeah.
Getting intensely angry or upset at the smallest disagreement.
And anthropophobia, a fear of people.
Right, along with other mental derangements. And this strange sense of urgency, like constant rapid questioning without waiting for reply, or feeling they cannot do things fast enough.
So it's like the internal pain makes the outside world unbearable, leading to agitation
And this frantic, restless energy. Yeah, it's a complete picture of suffering radiating outwards.
Okay, so we've got this profound mental anguish. But you said it wasn't just mental.
No, absolutely not. The Materia Medica suggests the body mirrors this distress. It details a wide systemic reach. Let's start with bones and connective tissues. It describes things like exostosis, that's abnormal bone growth, and caries, which is bone decay, plus nightly bone pains, especially in the skull, nose, and palate.
Nightly bone pains.
Yeah.
That sounds awful.
It does. The source even mentions destruction of bones, like secondary syphilis, and finding lumps under scalp. And there's a specific detail, a modality. The soreness in the bones gets better in open air, worse at night.
Worse at night. Again, that nighttime worsening seems significant.
It does, doesn't it? Now, moving to the cardiovascular system, this is also really key. It's linked to arteriosclerosis, hardening of the arteries, and high blood pressure.
Okay, those are conditions we still talk about a lot today.
True. But listen to this very specific heart sensation described, as if the heart stopped beating for 2 or 3 seconds, immediately followed by a tumultuous rebound with sinking at the epigastrium. That's the upper abdomen.
That description is incredibly vivid. What does that level of detail suggest about how they were observing patients?
It suggests meticulous attention to subjective experience, right? Really listening to how people describe their feelings. Beyond that specific sensation, the text also lists palpitation, an irregular heartbeat, a pulse that's rapid, feeble, irregular, heart hypertrophy, meaning enlargement, and valvular lesions of arteriosclerotic nature, valve damage from hardened arteries.
And the blood itself, you mentioned effects there too.
Yes, equally dramatic sensations, like orgasm, as if blood were boiling in all veins,
Boiling, wow.
and a feeling that all the blood seems to rush from head to lower limbs.
Wow.
It's a very dynamic, intensely felt circulatory picture described here.
Okay, the detail continues. Sensory organs, orifices, head to throat. What about the head itself?
Violent pain in head, worse at night. Again, that nighttime aggravation. Also, roaring in head and a sensation of tearing through brain to forehead. Sounds quite severe.
And the eyes.
Extreme photophobia, intense light sensitivity, great soreness all about the eyes and into eyeballs. Even visual disturbances, double vision, seeing only the bottom half of things, upper half of objects invisible.
Seeing only half, that's very specific.
And seeing fiery objects. So
Yeah,
not just pain, but distorted vision too.
What about ears?
It mentions caries of vesicula and of mastoid, decay in the middle ear bones and a bone behind the ear. Also, obstinate fetid otorrhea after scarlatina, a persistent foul discharge after scarlet fever, and chronic nerve deafness, possibly linked back to syphilis, according to the source. It tries to pinpoint causes.
And the nose.
Yeah.
You mentioned that earlier. Sounds pretty grim.
It does. Ulcerated, painful, swollen, obstructed. A discharge described as fetid, purulent, bloody, a putrid smell from the nose. Even a horrible odor from nose and mouth.
Horrible odor.
And physical signs too, like a knobby tip of nose. And this condition, ozena, which involves atrophy and a strong odor, it's a picture of decay.
Mouth and throat continue this theme.
Seems so. Foul breath in girls at puberty. A putrid or bitter taste. Ulceration of gums. And caries of the palate decay of the roof of the mouth. Again, the level of specific detail across the head and face is just remarkable.
Okay, moving down. Digestive system, urinary system, still this level of detail.
Absolutely. For the stomach and abdomen, increased appetite and thirst with qualmishness, like nausea. Swelling of epigastrium, that upper central abdomen again. Burning at stomach and hot eructations or burps.
And the abdomen itself.
The right hypochondrium, upper right side, is noted as hot and painful. Also, swelling and separation of inguinal glands. Those are the groin lymph nodes, often reacting to infection.
And urine, rectum.
Urine is described as turbid, like buttermilk with thick sediment. And there's painful retention, difficulty urinating. For the rectum, it's interesting. Constipation with hard and knotty stools, but also the opposite. Nocturnal diarrhea with burning in rectum. So quite a range of bowel issues.
Okay, and the genitourinary system. I remember seeing some striking details there.
Yes, very specific again for males. Pain and swelling of testicles, chronic induration, a hardening, violent erections, but also, significantly, atrophy of testicles in boys, a wasting away.
Atrophy in boys. That's concerning.
It is. Also, hydrocele fluid collection and sexual hyperesthesia, meaning oversensitivity. And that phrase, pining boys, suggesting a kind of wasting or failure to thrive.
And for females.
Great sensitiveness of vagina, a uterus enlarged and prolapsed, sterility, and a vaginismus, those involuntary muscle spasms. It really covers a wide range of distressing specific conditions, almost like a system-wide breakdown is being described.
It really does feel like a comprehensive picture of suffering. Are there other physical points mentioned?
Just a few more key ones. Respiration, dyspnea at night, trouble breathing, frequent deep breathing and stitches in sternum, sharp chest pains, extremities, dropsy of lower limbs, that's edema or swelling, and paralytic tearing pains in joints.
And sleep. You mentioned that reflects the mental state.
Exactly. Often sleepless, patients might sob aloud in sleep and experience frightful dreams. It really connects back to that deep anguish we talked about earlier. Permeates everything.
So we have this huge array of symptoms, mental and physical. How do we tie it together? What about the modalities? The when and how things get worse?
Right, the modalities are key clues. Boericke notes symptoms are worse in cold weather when getting cold. And many issues appear only in winter, or specifically from sunset to sunrise.
Sunset to sunrise window? That really seems to echo the despair, doesn't it? When darkness falls.
It certainly seems plausible connecting the physical and mental. It's a pattern.
And Aurum Metallicum isn't alone, is it? You mentioned it's part of a family.
That's right, it's not isolated. The source lists other gold compounds, Aurum arsenicosum, Aurum muriaticum, Aurum sulphuretum, and others. Each is described with its own specific applications, like Ormamure for multiple sclerosis or menopausal bleeding.
Ourselves for Parkinson's, or what they called paralysis agitans.
Exactly, it shows the incredible nuance. Subtle chemical differences in the gold salts were thought to target different complex conditions.
Wow, like a whole toolkit of gold remedies.
Ah,
And it fits into a bigger system, too, with antidotes and comparisons.
yes, the text mentions antidotes like belladonna or mercurius, suggesting ways to counteract effects if needed, and compare remedies like syphilinum or kali iodatum, which might have similar symptom pictures. It shows Aurum wasn't seen in isolation, but integrated within a whole network of potential treatments.
And dosage. Any quick insight there?
Just a brief note, third to 30th potency. Potency relates to the dilution process in homeopathy, and interestingly, it specifies the latter potency, the higher, more dilute one, is especially for increased blood pressure.
So even the preparation strength was tailored.
Precisely. It underlines the very specific, individualized approach described in the source.
So let's recap. We've just taken a deep dive into Aurum Metallicum. We've seen how this element, usually prized for its, well, material value, is described in Boericke's Materia Medica as having these powerful, very specific effects. Effects ranging from the most profound mental suffering, despair, suicidal thoughts, to really complex physical problems across the body.
And the level of detail, that observational richness, it's quite something, isn't it? It really gives you a window into a completely different way of thinking about health, where a metal like gold is linked to this incredible spectrum of human experience.
It's definitely an aha moment, seeing how substances can be viewed so differently, focusing so intently on the symptom picture.
It's almost poetic in its description sometimes.
So, thinking about this intricate, almost poetic detail, what does this historical dedication to observation tell us about, the ongoing human quest to understand and ease suffering? And maybe, how might exploring this make you reconsider the connections, perhaps subtle but potent, between things we think of as inert, like elements, and the deep complexities of being human? Something to think about until our next deep dive.